everybody! Welcome to the second video talkback, or video podcast for Dead Air.
Woo!
Jazmine, you can go ahead and take it away.
Yes, I'm Jazmine. I play Jamie, and I also wrote this particular radio play.
I'm Nicola. I am the director, Nicola Saffron. Can we do this?
No. No.
No, please. I don't even know how to say my
I
own
also
name.
forgot the
like
name
an
of my
adult.
play. It'll pass.
What am I,
Got
Madonna?
Who are you?
She's Madonna.
No, who are you?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm Vikki. I played Mary.
I'm Killian. I played a slew of characters, including a screaming, crying demon baby.
Thank you guys for joining us. I'm super excited about this specific radio play called It'll Pass, because it's the first radio play I ever wrote. Yay! And I brought in Nicola. I met her at an acting studio called the William Esper Studio. We were in the same class. And she's a really great actress, and I heard that she directs, and I was like, damn, I gotta get her to direct something, because I bet you she's good, and I was right.
And I'm glad that Jazmine asked me to be a part of this project, because it's my first time directing in this horror medium. So I was really excited to kind of just realize how I saw the script and hear it come to life and see what these fine actors did with it, and I was not disappointed.
I'm glad. So why did you want to direct?
I really like the script because although it, obviously there's kind of some supernatural elements to it, I felt like it could happen in real life. The postpartum stress and, just like, it's very difficult to have these intergenerational traumas of a mother being mentally ill and passing it along to her daughters. And I think that almost transcends the potions and the more supernatural elements. Mm-hmm. So I thought that it was a story that could happen. Someone's husband could very well kill himself, and then she could be totally overwhelmed with caring for this child.
And kind of make up stories in her head to explain it. And
Exactly.
It's all supernatural.
And then I also think, it could be very metaphorical, the fact that, when someone kills themselves, they pass, it's not like the trauma dies with them. They pass along that trauma, mm-hmm. and then it gets passed on eventually to her sister, Mary, played by Vikki, in a similar way. I think it's very metaphorical that she now has to live with all of this.
Yeah. Another thing that crossed my mind too is in a time of corona and the time of being afraid to pass things on, mm-hmm. that also crossed my mind too when I was writing this. I'm like, this is an interesting time to do this. But yeah, definitely all the mental the mental problems in her family it could definitely just be that and not the actual supernatural part. But yeah, I like to play with that. And when I wrote this, I really, when I first had the idea, I was like, okay, I'm going to write a radio play. And I have this idea, and this is what I'm going to write. But then I kept kind of pushing it off, and then I was like, okay, I just need to do it. I need to force myself to do it. And then I finally just made myself do it. And it was just really hard because I never wrote a radio play. It's always been scripts or short stories. So it's so different because you have to hear either by something, hear what's going on, either by dialogue or a noise or something. And I just prefer to see things happening. So then that was the first hurdle, to be like, okay, I have to be able to explain the stuff that's happening without, having to see it. Because I rather see the actions in a story than it being explained with exposition and stuff. And when I got to the monologue, I was like, is this too exposition-y? I don't know. Is there a way that I can show this? But there is no way to show it, it has to be the monologue. But it was also fun once I started doing it. it was also fun to get into it because sometimes when I'm writing, I get into like a flow where I'm like, I'm not exactly sure where this is going. I kind of know where it's going from A to B, roughly. I have like a rough outline in my head of how it's going to happen. But sometimes when I start writing, it's like, oh, and then this happens. Okay, I didn't know that was going to happen, but this feels right. And then you just kind of follow it. And then other times, you know, you write it out and then you go back and you specifically have to add like breadcrumbs. But then with this just kind of happened naturally once I forced myself to start writing and I got over the fact that it's a radio play. I have to write dialogue and you have to hear what's happening, you know. So yeah, that's what it was like to write this.
That's so fascinating to me to hear your process because I felt reading it that I was struck with like not knowing where it was going in a really positive way.
Yeah.
Like I think especially within the horror genre, you can kind of get a little bit not steered into a certain direction, but you can kind of predict it. And to me, that takes out some of the fear as an audience member. So I liked that I didn't know where it was going.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it was like interesting too because this might be the first radio play we did that is current times.
Yes.
I think. Like the rest have always been based like in the 50s or 60s. I think maybe at one point like
I think the 60s is the latest that they've ever been. At least have been written because we, you know, as we normally do we just adapt existing public domain radio plays because we do not have like the time or the writers on staff in order to just like once a month crank out a new one, although that would be great at some point.
Yeah.
Let's hold for somebody dying.
How dare they?
How dare they? Ugh. I hope it was worth it, whatever you were doing. Oh my goodness. That's what you wanted the baby cry to sound like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. But no, yeah, they're usually pre-existing radio plays, and so this is the first one that is brand new. And it was really cool. Also, piggybacking off of what you were saying, with it being exciting that you didn't know what was happening because it you couldn't ever pinpoint exactly where it was going to go until it went there. It kind of reminds me of what I was talking to Jazmine about last night with Samuel when we were looking at the close to final draft of Raven, which comes out April 30th. Oh, it came out April 30th.
It's out right now.
It's out right now. Watch it. But we were talking, and I brought up the movie, the Evil Dead remake. And there's this thing that they do in the remake that I love, which Tim and I have referred to as Chekhov has a gun rather than Chekhov's gun, where you see something where normally you'd be like, oh, that'll come into play later. No, it comes into play now. There's a great moment where you see like there's a box cutter just on on a table as somebody's flashlight goes over it, and then it goes back and it's gone immediately. But normally you'd see that you're like, oh, that'll come back like 2 scenes from now, somebody will have a box cutter, and it's like, oh, that's there. No. It's like it comes back and it's immediately gone, and then like maybe 30 seconds later it's being used by something against someone, and you're like, oh my god. And so the whole movie plays out like that, and it's very much, it's not Chekhov's gun, because it's not like, oh, this will come into play several scenes from now. It's Chekhov is currently armed and he's coming for you. And this story kind of played out in that sort of way, whereas anytime something happened, it was immediately in play. Which was really cool. You know, like, Jazmine hands Vikki the tea, and then a couple minutes later tells Vikki about the potion, and then it's like Vikki starts getting a headache. It's like, oh, sorry, by the way, the tea. Like, I drugged your tea. And it's like, yeah, Chekhov has a gun.
Yeah, it was really fun to write. And it's always so it always feels so good when that wasn't specifically planned. Like, it just started coming out and it's like, oh wow, the breadcrumbs are already there, and they just naturally just happen, and that feels really great when I get into that flow.
Yeah, somebody, I think it was Neil Gaiman, who described writing the first draft of a story like building a house with only a flashlight, or something together, putting together a cabinet with only a flashlight, where the pieces are all there in your head, and you're discovering where they go at the rate that you can see them. And then draft 2 is making sure that it all makes sense.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, that is kind of that. Yeah, it's the I didn't know that this was going to happen until I was writing it, and then you go, oh!
And it makes sense, because I also wrote this. What? Vikki, so tell us about your character of Mary.
I mean, it's interesting because, like, in my family, there's a lot of people, you know, like, they deal with it, you know, and they live normal lives, but there's so many family members I have who do have a mental illness. And so it was interesting for me to kind of relate to that of, like, you know, having, like, family members who have that, you know, it's not so much that you treat them differently, but, like, if you interact with them, it's, like, kind of walking on eggshells, I guess, because it's, like, you want to help this person, but at the same time, like, you're trying to, like, swim through mud, you know, so it's, like, you're trying to help them, but at the same time, it's, like, you have to be very careful with, like, what you say or do, because you could potentially set them off.
Yes.
And so it was interesting for me with having this character, and kind of, I guess, like, playing her like that. And then I guess, like, the other thing, too, is, like, it's not only her as a character, like, she's gonna have a baby soon. So it's, like, whatever, you know, like, she's dealing with this sister who's kind of crazy, and she wants to help, but at the same time, she has to think about, like, not only herself and, like, getting attacked or anything, but also, like, this freaking, you know, parasite that's, like, stuck to her. You know?
You gotta take care of your parasite.
Gotta take care of the parasite. So yeah, it was just interesting trying to, you know, figure out Mary with all of that.
Yeah.
So kind of like how you are in real life with dealing with those people in your family, but adding on top
just
of that,
elevating it, yeah.
The parasite.
The parasite,
that,
yeah.
that you care about more than anything. Cool. Killian.
Yeah?
Tell us about Frank.
Okay. Frank was interesting because I have had moments in the past where I work with somebody that I'm like I have had some sort of like romantic encounter with. So that was
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Woo! I have done that before, whether it's like working on a show with somebody or we just so happen to work at the same place. And so I do really, that was really easy to sort of put in my head, that sort of thing of, okay, you going back and forth between being professional and also like I really do care about you, but also at the same time fucking get it together. Like you have to, like this has to come, you know, that sort of thing. Like you have to be, yeah, it was pretty easy to sort of put myself in that headspace because I've lived that a little bit, but never in these exact circumstances where it's like somebody who like I kissed once and then their husband offed themselves like a month later, and this because it's like Frank absolutely feels responsible in some way about that, which is why he's going so above and beyond to take care of Jamie, because it's like I have to take care of this person because like I'm sort of responsible for her husband being dead now, so like I guess this is just life. I
think that's what's so interesting is that each of these characters carries such a heavy weight and responsibility. Like like Frank feeling responsible that David, Jamie's husband, killed himself, and Vikki feeling a bit guilty that she has this perfect life that kind of her sister was on track to have, of having a husband, of having a baby, and this responsibility for taking care of her, and not, you know, maybe there's lingering guilt, like the girls could have done something to protect their mother back in the day. And of course, Jamie having kind of the heaviest responsibility of all of these secrets, and knowing and also feeling responsible for the kiss. And, you know, I think everybody always feels a bit responsible when someone kills themselves, but certainly for the baby as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
Very curious on this. Do you think that the potion is real, or was it all just crazy, like, schizophrenic
I think
plot?
Jamie probably went to somebody for help, and, you know, one of those people who are just taking advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a witch. I don't know. But if we're going with the latter, I think that she just went to somebody who's just like taking advantage of people. Like, oh, here, this is this is the potion. I'm a witch or something else or other, or like, you know, oh yes, you know,
That's
one of those
exactly
people.
how I saw it.
Yeah.
Like a homeopathic doctor. Like,
Yeah.
of course there was something. There was some kind of like herb or remedy or elixir.
Like, I think the things she's saying it's not that those things didn't happen. It's just her mind, how what she's interpreting in her mind. Like, you know, David was smirking, but that could have been just her fucking, you know, guilt, her fucking, like, thinking that something is completely off with him, and who knows what really was happening with David. Maybe he was having an affair with somebody. Maybe he was getting distant for other reasons. But for her, it's all because of, maybe I can't have a baby, because I took this potion, or etc.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, piggybacking off of that, so, like, if it isn't, like, an actual, like, magical thing in the tea, then, is it a sort of thing where, like, it's, like, I guess, like, self-cursed thing where, like, almost like if a curse could be a tulpa, where so much thought and energy has gone into the idea that there's a curse that upon giving putting the similar elixir in the tea and then handing it to the sister, it actually moves the curse along, because it is, like, we do see effects starting to go into effect for the sister. So is it like that, or is it just, like, is Jamie just really fucking crazy and just poisoned her sister? And, like, those are the effects of, like, a poisoning going into effect.
I think whatever is in the potion it's having an effect. It has an effect, like whatever drug it is. It's an effect. It's a drug that's gonna pass. So they get the, like, when Jamie first drank it, she got a headache initially, and it's like, oh, this is because it works. You're gonna get a headache first because it works. And that's just like a trick, but it's something that's going to be out of your system soon.
Okay.
But that's interesting what you said, that, like, oh, it could be like a tulpa kind of thing where, like, it's like manifested.
Yeah.
That's interesting too. It could be that.
Well,
yeah.
they do all these studies on people who take placebos, and you know, they record, I felt it, and it's like, no, you didn't, but
if I remember right, there was a study that was done. It's really sad at the end, but, like, there was a study done where they were testing out new drugs for cancer or something, and there was a placebo group, and one of the guys thought that that he was receiving the drug and his cancer went into remission, and then they at some point have to tell the people that they were in the placebo group, and he was told that he was in the placebo group, and within a month it came back, and then he died. And it was this, like, thing of somebody was like, we live in the universe where those events happen in that order, so we'll never be able to say definitively, but it is interesting food for thought in the way of, was the placebo effect so strong that his body defeated cancer, and then when he was told that it was a placebo, his body was like, oh, guess we didn't, and then it just, like, came back. But, like, we'll never be able to know for sure, but, like, yeah, the placebo effect is strong, you know?
did that happen in, like, the 50s or 60s? Because I feel like you could never do a study like that now. Or
No,
even,
I mean,
like, the family would completely sue.
Well, no, I mean, I think when you're testing any drug, that is how you do it. Is like there's a control group which is receiving normal drugs. There's the placebo group, and then there's the actual group. So like that is just how they test drugs. So I think it happened in the last 10, 15 years.
Sorry, now I'm thinking of that. But wouldn't that be unethical in that like you're giving this person medicine that's not really medicine for cancer? And their cancer is still eating away at their body because it's not the actual medicine.
I mean, I guess in theory, yes, it is unethical, and I could be wrong in like how it's going, but I do believe that like it is a thing where you, knowing that you could be in the placebo group, you sign away that like if you are in the placebo group, that's just what it is. You're in the placebo group.
You know, they have you sign a bunch of papers.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, experimental. Like, maybe there's no known cure for it or medicine that helps it. So it's not like they're denying another form of treatment, from my understanding, and opting for the placebo and just, like, dying.
Yeah.
I think it's their only option is this trial, and it's the first trial, and they have to, and they just have to give some people placebos.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I think it happened within the last, 15 years or something like that, and it was just, I remember reading it, and I was like, wow, that is... The placebo effect is strong. If you... also, I've heard about people... if somebody's got a really bad headache, and they give somebody, baby aspirin, and they're like, oh, those are, 250 milligrams a piece, and they take 3 of them, and they're like, I feel great. And then later it's like, yeah, no, that was baby aspirin. You took 50 milligrams of aspirin. Tops.
You see it all the time too with these supplements that people are always hawking, and so they're like, oh, I feel so much better when I'm taking my omega and whatever.
Yeah.
And okay, maybe, but half the time they're not regulated by the FDA or whatever, and it comes out that it was basically just not very much of an active ingredient at all. And it's just their mind thinking, oh my gosh, my hair's so thick and my nails are so strong. And
it's like, they got so many pill bottles in their kitchen. And they're like, you gotta take this, you gotta take this. My father's like that a little bit.
Like you're a walking pharmacy.
Take this. I'm gonna send you some of these pills. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Tell us about your character. How was your character? What was it like playing your character? Nobody asked you this yet.
Nobody asked. What was it like? Well, I mean, it was definitely by the time I got to the monologue, it's exhausting, to go through it, and, and it's with your whole body you're doing this, and you're not going through the emotion 100% because it's just your voice. But, you still, kind of feel it there in your stomach, and you're trying to use it, and then it's I'm sweating. I don't know, nobody could tell, but I was already alright. Alright, I got some sweat here, now my butt crack. You didn't have to hear that. But,
not cutting it.
I'm fine with that, too. But yeah, it's, I do enjoy playing characters that are start to get, fucking are they crazy? I don't know. Are they get a little kind of unhinged and scattered brain? That's always kind of fun to play too. Even as much as emotionally exhausting as it is, it's also fun. Mm-hmm. So yeah. What about your baby?
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Honestly, y'all.
Go ahead.
Killian did a great job with that, but it was 30 seconds of him with a fucking beanie on his mouth, and all of us just looking at him disturbed.
It was several minutes of going back and forth from okay, I'm gonna do this, and then all right, but can you do it but this way? I think the best was the laugh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
The laugh, because it was okay, what do you want? And then you were 80% demon, 20% baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just enjoying it.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to dance. A monkey. Dance, monkey.
Yeah. It was fun. It was fun doing it. I mean, I am a voice actor, so that was just fun to be all right, so you're Frank, and then you are the baby. And it's like, I'm a grown man, alright, let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can replicate a baby.
I think in my mind I was like, well, Killian's gonna be the baby, obviously. And then I never, like, shared it with you until, like, right before rehearsal or whatever. I'm like, oh, right, you're the baby.
Like,
by the way.
Okay.
I mean, you should have figured, right?
Yeah, I mean, going into most things, if there's weird, like, if there's a monster or a weird sound or a demon voice, I'm
Killian.
like, it's probably gonna be me. That's just how it is. It's kind of like the 2462 or whatever, or 2642.
Oh, 24601.
Yeah, 24601, where I'm, like, there was the whole last section of the play where it's just me talking to me, and you were just sitting here watching me, just, like,
having a conversation
with myself, and you're like, okay. Yeah, but it was fun. The laugh was really interesting. I didn't know what sound was going to come out of my body until it started coming out of my body, and then I was like, this is it.
Oh,
This is the sound that's coming.
It was so funny because Killian was like so modest. He's like, but like, how do you want it? Asking me my specifications, and I said a few vague ballparks, but knowing full well that, like, as soon as he opened his mouth, it would be nearly perfect, and then I would just, like, have a few minor tweaks, and sure enough, he's just like, well, would this work? I cannot do it. And I'm like, yes, do that again.
You're like, I like it when it's the high pitched, like, crazy cackle, and I'm like, got it.
That was fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, whatever the fuck you're channeling to do that, just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Like, just don't overthink it. Shut the fuck up. Get up on that mic. Just do
make
it.
a weird
Yeah.
sound.
Be a goddamn baby.
He does this perfect baby, and then he's like that? Like, yeah. Like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
yeah, that.
Love it.
What's wrong with you? I don't know. But
Which was fun to end the whole recording session with that. It was fun to end it with that after my whole emotional roller coaster, and then to end with laughing at Killian. Love it.
yeah.
Favorite thing to do
Also,
is to laugh at Killian.
Jazmine, you mentioned that the monologue at the end was exhausting, and that I now have to ask, was it more or less exhausting than a knock at the door?
It was less exhausting. I already knew what you were going to ask. I was like, actually, the knock at the door radio play, by the way, go listen to that one. That one's so fun. It's basically mostly me monologuing. And she's fucking nuts. There's no question about it. She's fucking crazy. And there's no question about it there. And that one was really tiring, because I would just be going to be like...
Especially at the end where you're like... literally hanging yourself. You're like hanging from a noose and like trying to like... So you're like...
supposed to be like choking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so funny to sit here and like you would be going full tilt and then just have to be like, woo! Alright, and then you would just dismount from the monologue, like take a breather, and then just like right back in.
Yeah. That one was fun too.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to ask that. Yeah, listening to you guys do that monologue section at the end in the graveyard was really interesting. It was really fun. Yeah, I regardless of what in the world it may be, my takeaway is that the curse has now come to pass, given like, and it's so like so much effort and time has been put in by Jamie thinking that this curse is real. That
it's
like
100% real to Jamie.
Yeah.
To me, it's 100% real. There's no question.
That like the amount of energy and like the bearing of her soul in this thing, and then passing it on to her sister, like that the curse actually has now manifested and is passed on to the sister, and you're just fucked, man. Like in my mind, that is probably like I think that's because I love the idea of stuff like that, the sort of a take on the way of you believe that this is how I am, so this is how I will be. Which is why I think that if they were to ever do another reboot of Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they should go with the idea that Freddy Krueger was innocent when they killed him. And now he is coming back to kill the children, because it's the idea of I was an innocent person and you burned me to death for crimes I didn't commit. If this is what you want me to be, so be it. I will be that thing. And that sort of idea of, like, if you wanted the curse to exist that badly, then the curse now exists, and you've just passed it on to somebody. I love that idea. It's such like a cool, like, it's like a crunchy way of looking at magic. It's just like, oh, you willed it into existence on accident.
Better than I have schizophrenia like my mother. It's better that it's a curse.
I mean, I think it is both. I think it is both. In a way, it sort of reminds me of Hereditary, in, like, how Annie's family in Hereditary has that, like, the history of mental illness, and so they're like, you're going crazy like your mother, and she sort of is, but also it's like her family is being beset upon by these otherworldly forces, and so it is a bit of column A and column B. Like, she is going crazy, but because of these other things that are happening. And so, like, yeah, I think it might be a little bit of column A and column B.
You guys, if you're on YouTube right now, please put in the comment section
what you believe.
What you think. What you believe.
If you're listening on Spotify or on Apple or Amazon or Google, wherever you're finding
Just shout it into the ethos.
Shout
lean
it
out your window.
Shout it.
Just lean out your window and scream it out.
On the subway.
Yeah, you look at the person across from you on the subway, get really close to them, and tell them what you think.
But also wear your mask when you get close.
Wear your mask, though.
And
don't get
6
too
feet
close.
away.
6 feet away.
Actually.
Get exactly 6 feet away, though, and then
Yeah.
then stage whisper it aggressively at them. Or do what the sane people would do and just go to the YouTube video and leave a comment on the YouTube video. Also, like, comment, and subscribe in general.
It'd be really great for the algorithm.
Yeah. Also for
Free
us
count.
as, like,
If you
just for us as a
comment.
company, like, it would be awesome.
Also, we want to know what you think. We want to know what people think. I want to know what people think about my work.
I would love to know what everybody thinks. Okay, is this the time where we tell spooky stories? Is this the spooky story time? Vikki, tell us a spooky story. Your family keeps killing other parts of your family. Tell us another story about murder.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, that was just the one time. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I talked about it before.
You did.
Allegedly, my family gang murdered another family in the 50s. All got away with it. Whoops.
Should you be
Vikki!
disclosing this?
The statute of limitations in the 50s, or by now, I think, has passed.
70 years,
It's been like 70 years.
Yeah, no, but I talked about it in like another podcast.
I think it's really
Yeah, so
difficult to
check
put
out
people
all
in
of
jail
our
when they're
podcasts.
dead.
Yeah,
But did your family do the killing?
allegedly.
Kind of like how...
Is that
Just
what
to
the-
recap it real quick. So, my cousins in the 50s owned like a railroad company together. One of them was like a piece of shit, and like beat his wife, like was a drunkard, was the absolutely fucking worst. And so the other cousins were like, alright, we don't want him working in this company with us anymore. Now this is where it's a little allegedly. We're gonna murder him. But the thing is, the dude died in a railroad accident. But, like, body perfectly fine, head cut off. So, railroad accident.
As everybody knows,
Railroad accident.
trains really like to decapitate people.
Yeah.
So, you guys, if you're on YouTube, please leave a comment.
So whether or not Vicki's family did it.
Yeah.
So if anybody else has a spooky story...
No?
Not to share.
All right, you guys, check out our Patreon. You can see behind-the-scenes videos and photos of our short screams and films, which, by the way, Raven comes out in a couple days. And as you listen to this right now, it is on YouTube. Check it out. It was so much work, but it's out there in the universe right now.
Labor of
Please
love, I'm sure.
check it out. Like it, comment, etc. Share it. And you can also listen to the commentary of Raven on Patreon. You can also see exclusive interviews on Patreon. And what else?
Drinking with Human Pincushion.
Right, Drinking with Human Pincushion. And is there anything else I'm missing?
No, that's the only Patreon exclusive thing that we have.
Sweet.
Like, for, like, new content, is Drinking with Human Pincushion. Everything else, like, when it comes to interviews and everything, that is only Patreon as well. Yeah, so
awesome. So I believe our memberships are $2, $4, and $6.
Yes.
So it's chump change. We,
For-
help us out,
For less than the cost of a single Subway sandwich, which, if you're gonna eat at Subway, don't. For less than the cost of a single disappointing Subway sandwich, you can subscribe to us for an entire month and look at all of the cool stuff that we have up there on our Patreon.
More money. Help us to make better content. We want to pay everyone at some point.
Yes, please.
So yes, please support indie filmmakers, and thank you.
Yes. Also, don't eat at Subway. Go to your local bodega or like a Jersey Mike's or something.
More than that, only eat at Subway if it's their $5 footlong.
Yeah.
If not, it's a ripoff. But if it is,
and don't eat the pizza.
Yeah.
Like why?
Why is that a thing?
But anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.